Hi guys, I got a chance to scrapbook today using the Studio Calico Sock Hop kit. I also have the penny loafers and poodle skirt add-ons, and I wanted to scrapbook that scrapaganza picture. And so I'm looking for some numbers, and I knew that I had some of those sassafras chipboard numbers that would be a good thing to use on this layout because I wanted to call it the third annual scrapaganza. And so I wanted a big giant 3 that would make a lot of impact. So then I just looked through the paper, trying to pick out what my background paper is going to be. I was looking for something that was kind of neutral, and I really like that gray polka dot paper from Fifth and Frolic. In looking through the papers, I came across that blue cardstock, and so I put it on my cameo mat because I thought I might cut out some cameo pieces for this layout, but I ended up not cutting anything, so that was all for naught. But I did pick out a whole bunch of scraps that I thought I might use on this layout. Some of them I did use and some of them I didn't. So I'm starting off with that gray and cream, or kind of like a dirty white polka dot paper from the Fifth and Frolic collection by American Crafts, Dear Lizzie. And so I had a scrap of that everyday paper by, who makes that, Pebbles, that turquoise paper with the days of the week on it. And then I thought I was going to cut out a whole bunch of these washi strips. They're not real washi. It's paper that is printed to look like a bunch of pieces of tape. So I was going to cut out a bunch of those, and then I decided I didn't want to do that after all, so I just kind of left it. Um, You'll notice that my cell phone is going to go off a lot of times during this. I'm sorry if it's distracting. I was following something on Twitter. Today was the anniversary of the Halifax explosion, so I was following that on Twitter anyways. So I hope that that's not distracting. I didn't realize it was in the frame of the camera. So I have just layered a bunch of papers, mostly scraps from other layouts that I've done, and I wanted to make sure I got a chance to use these vellum banners from, who makes these? Who is it? Crepe paper. And so I knew I wasn't going to get too many more layouts out of this kit, so I really wanted to use the banners, so I strung them across in 2 places. Now I'm just going back and outlining some of my papers now that I know which ones I'm going to use. And this paper had already a little punch from the Stampin' Up! Heart by Heart, Heart to Heart punch, and I just left it there for a little bit of added interest. I'm going to pop this up because I like to do that when I have a paper that has a negative punch on it, so that it just kind of accentuates it by putting a bit of a shadow behind it. So now I'm going to layer that vellum. The turquoise paper with the words the days of the week all over it is from Pebbles, and the heart paper that is punched with the heart-shaped punches out of them, is also the same paper, so it's also Pebbles, it's just the back side of that. And then that feather vellum, I don't know what that's from. It might be from Studio Calico. So I wanted to do some stamping on this layout, so I just picked out a couple of stamps. I just wanted to double check how that was going to stamp in the London fog. It's kind of a wonky chevron. It looks like a hand-drawn chevron, and I thought it would just give a bit of a interesting addition to the top and bottom of my layered papers there. And so I am stamping it in London Fog ink, which is one of my favorites. It's kind of a bit of a bluey gray. And then I took that A Great Day, which is from a Studio Calico set of stamps. And then I also had a very small chevron arrow that you'll see me stamping there. And now I meant to stamp all of these chevron arrows in StazOn because I'm stamping them onto vellum. But I forgot to do that. So they stay wet and they end up making things a little bit messy because they do get smeared a little bit. But I will do something to make it look like I intended for the layout to be messy. So you'll see that in a few minutes. So now I'm going to figure out my title. I knew I wanted my title to go over here to the left in this big open space. And so I don't know what I'm doing right now. Yeah, so I'm just going to spell out the word scrapaganza. And at this point, I want to have a couple of letters be different because it's a big word and I just wanted it to be, you know, have a bit of variation and interest in it instead of all just those navy blue. So I took some of those pink paisley glitter letter stickers and I substituted some of the letters for those. Not sure what I'm doing now. Sorry about that. And now I'm just going to overlap those letters a little bit to give them a bit more of a casual and maybe whimsical kind of look to them. And then I picked out that big number 3 and I wanted to put the RD for third on top of the 3 instead of beside it. So I knew that Lily Bee Design letters would be tiny enough and narrow enough to be able to put the RD right on the 3 but still have it not take away from the big graphic impact that you get from the 3. So here I'm deciding to add the word annual to my title. So instead of third Scrapaganza, I'm going to call it the third annual Scrapaganza. The reason I did that is basically I wanted 3 rows of letters, so it was purely design. It had nothing to do with wanting the word annual in my title. I just wanted to fill up more of that space. I think I don't know what I was doing there. So I think I've got my title letters all picked out, and yeah, I just wanted to vary where the silver glitter letters were. And now I'm looking for some label stickers that I'm going to be putting behind. That might have been what I was doing there when I was off camera. I was grabbing some label stickers. These are mostly all crate paper. I'll tell you what they are as I put them down. This one is a crate paper label sticker, and so is this one. I can't tell you what collections they're from though. I don't know the collections very well. And so I'm just, you know, trying to vary the stickers so that I've got rectangular ones and circular ones and square ones all kind of, you know, layered in together. So I'm liking how they're lining up at this point, so I'm going to go ahead and put my letter stickers down. And some of them are already stuck together, so that makes them really easy to put on there. So there's my title, and I left room down at the bottom because I wanted to put the date in some tiny little letter stickers. So I just left some space below Ganza there. And now I'm just outlining the RD just to make it stand out a little bit. And then that 3 was looking a little bit too dirty or grungy, I guess, compared to some of the other elements on the page. So I just used my white gel pen to pump it up a notch, just give it a bit more of a white feeling because the graph paper is off-white and it was just looking a little bit too much like it stood out. So those scissors are from Cat Scrappiness, and I wanted to include them on the page because I rarely do scrapbooking themed pages, and I have a couple of those balsa wood scissor die cuts from Cat Scrappiness, so I wanted to make sure that I used one of them on this layout, and I am going to ink it. And now I'm just looking for letter stickers that I'm going to put the date on. And so I picked out a couple of small letter stickers that had numbers in the sets. Not all letter sticker sets come with numbers, obviously, so I went with those Kaisercraft white on red letter stickers and just picked out the numbers for the date. I'm going to use my Mind's Eye enamel dots that came in the kit for the little dots between. And now I'm just going back and I'm putting in a couple of strips of washi tape, including one strip of the fake washi tape from that washi tape paper, um, just because I didn't have the right color washi tape in my own stash. And adding some washi tape above and below the picture, and then just a third little strip of washi tape behind the number 3. And yes, there I was testing to see if that ink was dry yet, because it does take a long time to dry on vellum, and it is pretty dry, but it's a little bit messy. So now I'm going in with my sewing machine and I'm just adding some really subtle details. I find sewing with white thread is a really nice way to add some subtle texture to your layout without taking away from some of the other elements. So where I have some stamping in black on the layout already and my letters are a pretty dark element and there's lots of dark in the picture, I didn't want to add too much busyness to it, so I made my stitching be white. If I had a more variety of colors of thread, I might have made my thread be colored, but I don't have many colors. So now I purposely cut away part of my mask here as I'm splattering my layout because I wanted to get some splatters on the picture. I actually got more on the picture than I thought. Now, the ink is going to take a lot longer to dry on some of the slicker surfaces like the vellum and the photo. So I just took some paper towel and blotted, really, really carefully blotted so that I didn't change the shape of any of the splatters, just so that it would dry a lot faster and be a little bit less messy. Putting a little wood veneer girl on there, that might be my last girl. I'm running out of girls. So what am I doing now? I guess I'm adding another stamp. Oh yes, so there was quite a bit of space above the word annual that was just kind of empty, and so I wanted to fill it in with some more stamps, and this time I chose to use the stays on so that it wouldn't be as messy. I'm trying to decide on how I'm going to put that banner on, and I wanted the banner to be quite messy. So I'm going to spray the scissors. I don't have a light enough gray, so I'm spraying them dark gray, and then I'm going to layer some white over it just to make them the right shade of gray. Yeah, so I want the banner to be messy with the triangles going in different directions, not just kind of a nice, neat half circular or whatever shape. And that kind of goes in line with the messiness that I get from my smudged stamps. And then that's also part of the reason why I splattered my ink on top of the layout instead of just on the background paper, is that I wanted it to have a really messy look because I kind of messed it up with the not using stays on ink. So I kind of had to roll with it then. That way my mistaken stamping doesn't stand out so much. So now I'm stamping in the middle of my page and I'm going to show you how I do this. So I've just slowed down the video here. You just open your stapler as if you're going to, actually no, wait a minute. Hang on, I'm putting it back first and now I'm going to show you what I did. So this is your stapler. You pull up that back part and then instead of pulling down the silver part, you pull down the black part and then you put the other black part of the handle back in place. You do your stapling. And I staple under a piece of foam, but you do have to be gentle. Then you put the inside black part back in place and then your outside black part back in place. And then I turn my layout around and then I just use the non-cutting surface of my scissor blade to push the staples in place, and I use my fingernails to hold them because they're kind of wobbly. Be careful not to cut yourself because they are quite sharp. So I hope that that helped anybody who had questions about how to staple using your tiny attacher in the middle of the page. So now we're going to go back to fast forward. So I'm just going to finish off those staples, and I made a bit of a mess, like I pressed too hard on this layout is full of messes. So I had to use some tape just to hold the paper in place because I actually ripped the paper with my stapler. You have to go super gentle when you staple because that foam that's under the layout is gonna make it really easy for you to bend your paper to the point that it rips. So I wanted to put a tiny little phrase up in the corner of my layout. So I was just looking for some label stickers from my little stash of Jilly Bean and My Mind's Eye. And I couldn't find one that was the color that I wanted. So I took I took two and layered them together so that I'd have a bit of red on the little label sticker. And then I just stapled the banner in place in a messy way so that it would be kind of all askew. And then I use glossy accents to glue down a wood veneer star. And now I'm just playing around with where I'm going to place some of the other embellishments. Put an enamel dot up in the top left-hand corner, and I really want to get to use those So Delicious triangle wood veneer shapes. And I'm thinking about adding a sticker or some type of a embellishment above our heads there. Above Susan's head actually is where I want to add it. Susan's the girl in the blue, the lighter blue shirt. And so that's why I took out some of my stickers, and I'm still kind of thinking about what I want to do there as I play around with the other embellishments. And then I decide that I'm going to cut out a couple of tags and just glue them on above Susan's head. I'm using my just my regular hole punch just from an office store, whatever that size is, and I'm just using that as a way to make those little notches so that it looks like a real like a real strip of tickets. And then I bent them as well just to make them look like they were perforated. And I stapled them in place, and I'm going to put that October Afternoon button on top of them. That coupon paper is from October Afternoon from the Midway collection. I'm trying to say what everything is here. And then I pulled out some Amy Tangerine vellum hearts that I'm not going to end up using, but I thought about it. And then I checked my little basket of heart punches. I definitely wanted a heart there, but I couldn't figure out what I wanted. And I wanted some type of a clip. And so I'm sort of experimenting with a couple of different options that I don't end up using either of those. And so then I decided to punch some brand new hearts using the basic gray red paper that's in the kit. I ripped the coupon as I put that little paper clip on it. And then I ran that basic gray number paper through my Big Shot using the Stampin' Up! Fashionable Hearts embosslet, which makes really pretty, I use these all the time, really pretty embossed hearts. And they're just a really nice size, and they're embossed, so it gives a bit of detail. And then I just wanted to have those tickets be ripped instead of cut, so I used my ruler. Glued on the button using glossy accents, and then I I went a little bit overboard with the enamel dots, so I took some of them off. Yeah, so what I was doing there, sorry I couldn't tell what I was doing. I was putting some Stampin' Up! Dimensionals underneath of the tickets just to keep them up off the page. What I do when I do that is I actually don't glue them down. I just attach them to the thing that I want to have pop up, and then I don't take off the back paper so that it kind of floats. It can go as high as it wants, but it can only go so low, if that makes any sense. Now I'm using something that I haven't used in ages, which is Distress Stickles. I have, I think it's called Brushed Pewter, and I thought it would make the arrows a really pretty gray and also give them some texture. What I probably should have done is inked them first, because you can see the wood veneer behind the stickles, and so I really should have inked them gray first, but you know, they look okay the way they are. You'll see them in the close-up pictures later. So now I am adding some wood veneer stars to my main clusters. So I kind of have two sets of clusters going on. Three, if you count the top left-hand corner, there are three clusters. And then there's a fourth that's sort of maybe developing down there in the right bottom-hand corner, the right-hand bottom corner. But I end up deciding that putting a button down there is just gonna I don't really want to draw your attention too much to that corner. So I'm going to mess around with placing these things, and then I'm going to end up not putting much there. Well, you'll see what I end up putting there. So, I'm figuring out the clusters, and then I just decide to take the button off altogether and just put a couple of stars. And I like the stars over there because they don't really, especially since I'm going to make them gray, so they're not going to stand out quite so much. They just kind of accompany the little yellow enamel dot. You can use your heat gun on distress stickles. Regular stickles will lose their shine, but distress stickles you can heat them up to set them. They take a long time to dry. So even though I heat set them, they still weren't dry at this point, and they didn't dry. Okay, so I'm just clipping off a couple of my edges there, and then I'm just going to show you the close-up. So sorry, it feels like I'm going slow motion when I go regular speed after going 800 times as fast. Um, so yes, here's the top left-hand cluster with that cute little enamel dot and the little star, and I really like how the banner is disheveled, I guess is the word I'm going to use. That little cluster up there with the tickets, I really like how the tickets don't stand out too much. They're a similar color to the background. And those scissors are just awesome. I love cat scrappiness embellishments. They're just so cute and unique too. There's my date, and there's the banner. You can see my stamping and the ink spots on my layout. So thanks so much for watching, guys.